Have you ever looked at your life and wondered why it looks successful, yet feels completely empty inside? You earn money. You pay your bills. You buy things that impress people. But late at night, when everything is quiet, a strange question appears in your mind. Is this all I'm becoming? What if I told you that one silent mistake is keeping millions of people stuck for years without them even realizing it? And what if fixing it could change not just your income, but your confidence, your future, and how people see you? Stay with me until the end of this story, because the lesson waiting there could be worth more than any paycheck you've ever earned. Before we go deeper, this is the kind of real, eye-opening story we share here on English Story Archive, where simple stories carry powerful lessons. If stories like this make you think differently about life, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It truly helps more people find these messages. Now, let me introduce you to a man named Marcus Hale. From the outside, Marcus looked like he had it all figured out. A stable job. A steady income. A comfortable apartment filled with modern gadgets and small luxuries. People assumed he was doing well. But success on the outside doesn't always mean growth on the inside. And Marcus was about to learn that the hard way. Marcus didn't feel like a failure. And that was the most dangerous part. His days followed a safe routine. Wake up. Go to work. Do what was expected. Come home. Relax. Repeat. He wasn't struggling, so he assumed he was progressing. But comfort has a quiet way of freezing people in place. Years passed, yet Marcus stayed the same. Same skills. Same mindset. Same limits. Around him, younger co-workers talked about new courses, certifications, and ideas. Marcus listened, smiled, and thought, why bother? I'm doing fine. But deep down, something felt wrong. Because doing fine was slowly turning into doing nothing new at all. Late at night, when the noise of the day finally faded, Marcus felt it. A quiet discomfort he couldn't distract himself from. He would sit alone in his apartment, surrounded by things he once wanted. The new phone. The stylish furniture. The expensive watch. None of it felt exciting anymore. The silence made one question louder than the rest. If I lost this job tomorrow, what would I still be worth? The thought scared him. Not because he was bad at his job, but because he hadn't become better in years. His value depended on a title, not on skills. And titles can disappear overnight. That question didn't leave Marcus's mind. It followed him to work. And it was about to be answered, painfully. The office felt different that morning. Whispers filled the air. Smiles. Nervous energy. Everyone knew something big was coming. A senior position had opened. Higher pay. More influence. The kind of opportunity Marcus had quietly been waiting for. He told himself this was his moment. He had been loyal. He had been consistent. He had put in the years. When the manager finally made the announcement, the room erupted in applause. But the name wasn't Marcus. It was Ethan Brooks. Younger. Newer. Less time in the company. Marcus felt frozen in his chair. In that moment, comfort stopped feeling safe and started feeling expensive. After the meeting, Marcus couldn't let it go. He walked into his manager's office, forcing calm into his voice, and asked the question burning inside him, why not me? The answer wasn't cruel. But it was honest. You're reliable, his manager said. But you haven't grown. Ethan has. Those words hit harder than anger ever could. Marcus realized something painful in that moment. Showing up wasn't enough anymore. Time alone didn't make someone valuable. Growth did. He left the office feeling exposed. For years, he had been standing still, while others were quietly moving ahead. And now, he couldn't unsee it. Marcus sat in his car long after the engine was off. The parking lot slowly emptied, but he stayed there, staring straight ahead. His mind replayed the past few years like a warning signal. The money he spent on things that lost excitement in days. The nights he chose comfort over learning. The skills he meant to develop but never did. For the first time, he didn't feel angry at his boss or jealous of Ethan. He felt disappointed in himself. A single thought settled in his chest, heavy but clear. I've been protecting my money, but neglecting my value. That realization hurt, but it also opened a door. That night, Marcus didn't distract himself with noise.
No scrolling. No TV. No excuses.
He sat down and faced a truth he had been avoiding for years. Everything he owned was slowly losing value. But his skills, his knowledge, his health, those had barely changed at all. For the first time, Marcus made a decision that scared him. He would stop spending only to feel good today and start investing to become stronger tomorrow. He didn't know where to begin. He only knew one thing: doing nothing was no longer an option. And that was when he remembered someone from his past. Marcus stared at his phone for a long time before pressing the call button. The name on the screen brought back memories he hadn't thought about in years. Samuel Crow, a former mentor who once told him, "If you stop learning, life will pass you quietly." Marcus had ignored that advice back then. Now, it felt impossible to ignore. When Samuel answered, Marcus felt embarrassed admitting the truth. He talked about the promotion, the regret, the feeling of falling behind. He expected judgment. Instead, Samuel calmly said, "Good. This pain means you're finally awake." Those words surprised Marcus. But for the first time in a long while, he felt hope. They met a few days later at a quiet cafe.
No rush. No lectures.
Just an honest conversation. Samuel listened carefully, then asked Marcus a simple question. "Tell me, what do you spend most of your money on?" Marcus hesitated. Gadgets. Comfort. Small rewards for getting through the week. Samuel nodded and said something that stuck. Most people don't have an income problem. They have a priority problem. He explained that there are two kinds of spending. One fades the moment you stop paying. The other keeps paying you back long after the money is gone. Marcus leaned forward. For the first time, he wasn't looking for motivation. He was looking for a system. Samuel pulled out a small notebook and drew 3 lines. "This," he said, "is how most people should treat their income." One part was for living. Bills. Rent. The basics. The second part was for safety. Savings. Emergencies. Peace of mind. Then he pointed to the third line. "This is where most people fail," Samuel said. Growth. He explained that a fixed portion of income must be reserved for self-investment. Not leftover money. Not spare change. Planned growth. Skills. Knowledge. Health. Marcus realized something uncomfortable but true. He had been saving money for the future, while doing nothing to prepare himself for it. Marcus started small, but he stayed consistent. After work, instead of collapsing into comfort, he opened his laptop. He studied when his energy was low. He learned when quitting felt easier. Friends invited him out. He said no. Not because he had to, but because he chose to. The progress was slow. Some nights felt pointless. Some lessons were hard to understand. But something strange began to happen. Marcus felt sharper. More alert. More confident. He wasn't just passing time anymore. He was building himself. And for the first time in years, his days felt like they were moving forward instead of repeating. A few weeks later, something changed at work. Marcus noticed problems others ignored. Inefficiencies. delays, small issues that quietly wasted time. This time, he didn't just notice them. He fixed them. Using what he had been learning, Marcus built a simple system that reduced hours of manual work into minutes. It wasn't flashy, but it worked. His manager noticed. "Where did you learn this?" he asked. Marcus answered honestly, "I've been investing in myself." That moment felt different from any purchase he had ever made. Because this pride didn't fade overnight. It stayed. The change didn't happen all at once. But people began to notice. Coworkers started asking Marcus for help. His opinions carried more weight. Meetings felt different now. He wasn't just present, he was useful. Even outside of work, something shifted. Marcus stood straighter. He spoke with clarity. He no longer felt the need to impress anyone with things he owned. What surprised him most was this: no one knew how much money he was spending. They could only see the results. Marcus finally understood a powerful truth. Real growth is quiet, but its impact is loud. Marcus wasn't searching for a new job. He was too busy improving himself. That's why the message surprised him. A recruiter reached out, curious about his recent work, his new skills, and the quiet progress visible on his profile. Marcus almost ignored it. Old habits tried to return. But this time, he leaned in. The interview felt different from any before. Marcus didn't recite responsibilities. He spoke about solutions. He didn't promise effort. He demonstrated value. When the offer came, it wasn't just higher pay. It was proof. He hadn't chased success. He had become someone success could find. On his first morning at the new job, Marcus stood in front of the mirror a little longer than usual. Not to admire his clothes. Not to rehearse confidence. He was looking at the person he had become. For years, he had tied his worth to a title, a paycheck, and approval from others. Now, none of that defined him. Even if this job disappeared tomorrow, he knew something important. He had skills. He had discipline. He had momentum. For the first time, Marcus didn't feel afraid of the future. Because wherever he went next, he was bringing the value with him. A few months later, Marcus ran into Ethan, the colleague who had once taken the promotion meant for him. The meeting was brief, friendly, honest. Ethan congratulated him on the new role and said something Marcus never expected. "You've changed," Ethan admitted. "You move differently now." Marcus smiled, not with pride, but with clarity. He finally understood that losing that promotion wasn't a setback. It was a signal. A necessary one. If that moment hadn't happened, Marcus might still be comfortable. And comfort, he now knew, was the most expensive trap of all. This is where the story stops being about Marcus. Because his mistake is one many people make without realizing it. Most people work hard to protect their money, their comfort, and their routine. But very few protect their growth. And when growth stops, life quietly moves ahead without them. Marcus didn't become successful because he earned more. He earned more because he became more. The moment he shifted his focus, from buying things to building himself, everything else followed. Opportunities didn't chase his resume. They followed his value. And the same rule applies to anyone listening right now. Take a moment and think about your last few purchases. Were they made to impress someone, escape boredom, or feel good for a day? Now ask yourself a harder question. When was the last time you invested in becoming better? Here on English Story Archive, we believe stories should do more than entertain. They should wake you up. So write this in the comments. One skill, one habit, or one area you will invest in this month. And if this story reminded you of someone who feels stuck, share it with them. Sometimes, one story is all it takes to change a direction. Money can disappear. Jobs can end. Titles can be taken away. But what you build inside yourself stays. Marcus didn't win because he was lucky. He won because he stopped buying comfort and started building value. And that choice changed everything. One day, your future self will look back at this moment. They will either thank you or wish you had acted sooner. So remember this. The most valuable asset you will ever own doesn't sit in your bank account. It stands in the mirror. Stop buying. Start becoming.